My initial thing was shock and horror. And then the strongest emotion was disgust. How the human race could do this. It's hard to understand how frightening artillery is. You can imagine 20 thunderstorms at once. The Russians themselves certainly targeted zoological parks and wildlife parks, and you can imagine them sadly laughing doing this. They were killing them out of spite because they knew it would affect the Ukraine population. The average person, just like in Australia, has a pet. A lot of them were left behind because one of the last things they may have thought about, if they've got children in particular, is to pick up the cat and run out the door with it too. They're suddenly cast outside. They're in a strange place. They don't know what to do. No one's feeding them, which is a primary sort of source of their concern and stress. They must be terrified. Some of them have been killed. One of the zoos I went to, there was no one to pick the dead animals up. You know, the health of animals in the world is a direct effect on human beings, and I think a lot of human beings forget that. We can't survive without them. I actually haven't cried for a long time. Just the sheer volume of the animals, it was overwhelming. You had like dogs run at you saying, take me home, and you had to leave them there. We had to drive over the border 5 hours in a queue, 15 kilometres of welfare truck. Everyone walks around with an AK-47 there. Shit, we're finally here. Now we better sort of start doing what we came for. We'd heard in Kiev they'd just discovered a building which had over 200 cats in it, and sadly that person that was returning every day to feed them was killed. We spent €1,000 purchasing literally a truckload of cat food, but the reality is that food will only last 5 days, and you know that. And so it's a roller coaster of emotions that, wow, I've done something, but in 5 days, if I don't do something again, have I just postponed the inevitable? Are they now relying on me? I almost feel guilty. Do I need to send another €1,000 worth of food up there? There are some of the things that we did that are very satisfying because we planned long term. We spent €3,500, which is what, about $8,000 importing generators. We purchased a large freezer. These areas need fridges to keep food fresh, etc., and lights and electricity just to operate on a daily basis. My emotion since I've come back, then I probably couldn't sleep for about 4 nights, tossing and turning. My brain was still in Ukraine, having dreams about still us doing stuff over there and what we could have done and did more and what we need to do again. When the war is over, they'll rebuild their lives. A lot of people will be looking for their animals. What a great opportunity if you think about it yourself. An emotional journey, you've been displaced by war, you've perhaps lost members of the family, but their pets are still there, you know. It's a small little victory. I can't possibly say how many of those animals we're keeping alive will be reunited. Perhaps you could argue if you save one life, that's good enough. Maybe if we only save 100,000 out of the millions displaced, it's something, isn't it? I think everyone in Australia can sort of bear up with the idea that the family pet is, which just about 99% of families have in Australia, is a member of the family itself. I mean, you know, when my recent police dog passed away at 16 years of age, I lost a child. I was, you know, crying for days, you know, and it's certainly not the only person. People have that attachment to animals. I had people coming up to me in the street when we were wearing the Australian flag, crying, people I'd never met before, shaking our hands, saying, thank you, Australia. And they were flabbergasted that someone at the bottom of the world cared for Ukraine. Some cried, some shook their hand. We had people, you know, give us an embrace. It's not just their animals, it was a way of helping their country, the whole country. And I think that's why we should do it. Some really key people that I must thank, and the first one on the top of the list has to be my wife. There's not many wives out there that would allow their husbands to pop off to a war zone. She's an amazing lady with great support. The next person is Peter Kotzer, the man that went with me. I could not have done the trip without Peter. He's an amazing man. He's literally was my rock and my pillar. One of the largest group that helped us was Petstock, and without them, we certainly couldn't have even started the mission. And one gentleman in particular, Travis Jeffries, did amazing work, and a great animal humanitarian. UPAWS in particular in the Ukraine. They've been doing work for the 6 months before we got there. They're working now. We're not there, and they'll be working until it's finished. Cronulla RSL, they've been very generous towards the trip and helping us financially. And of course, Redlands RSL with helping us with airfares to get there in the first place. So a big sort of shout out to them for sure. We intend to raise more funds and travel back there to obtain more items for the infrastructure, such as automatic dog feeders, more generators, perhaps a four-wheel drive vehicle to get the food to the animals that are very difficult to reach. Everyone can help. A lot of people might look at the situation and think, my God, it's overwhelming, you know, what's the point even, like I can give you 20 bucks, what's that going to do? Or I can supply a week's worth of dog food and then they're going to run out anyway. So what's the point? Well, the point is we all get together. Collectively, we can make that small little effort a big effort, and we can do something long term. Long term wise, you've got to remember they've got to go back to devastated towns and cities, and they'll need to be rebuilt, including things like veterinary surgeries. So we'll be still in Ukraine for perhaps months, even a year, before every dog has found its home or perhaps found a shelter and is not living on the street again.